The Dallas Cowboys pregame show, live from the Star in Frisco, is brought to you by AT&T. Academy, the official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
Since 2016, the Dallas Cowboys are 9-5 when returning to AT&T Stadium following a road loss. Today, they aim for another such win as they welcome in the 2-1 Cleveland Browns out of the AFC North. Welcome in to the Star in Frisco, everybody. It's Cowboys pregame live, Week 4 of the NFL season. Kyle Yeomans alongside a pair of former Cowboys, Barry Church and Isaiah Stanback. And guys, since it is Week 4, we're fully engulfed into football season, which also means we're joined by some custom 7-Eleven cups here at the desk. You can purchase your own limited edition 7-Eleven Dallas Cowboys commemorative cup at local 7-Elevens with just $1.99 fountain drink. You better hurry up and go figure it out and get them because supplies are only limited while they last. So go get your 7-Eleven cups today. But like I mentioned, it is Week 4. We're fully engulfed in this Cowboys season, and they're 1-2 at the moment as they come back home to AT&T Stadium. They fell by, once again, a single-score game last week to the Seattle Seahawks, but there's a lot of pressure on this Cowboys team entering Week 4 today.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, and especially with the secondary. I mean, I don't know if we have time to discuss all the problems that we've seen so far with this secondary, but the communication for me is what it boils down to. I mean, it goes back to the basics, and what we've seen so far is from these safeties is just we're not communicating at all. I mean, there's too many plays where wide receivers are 10 yards open without a defender in sight, and I think that boils down to communication. Now, I'm not sure, Isaiah, if it's a lack of communication from player to player, or if it's a lack of understanding of the playbook. But something has to click, something has to get going here, or we're just going to continue to see bombs over the secondary.
Absolutely. To your point, I believe that it's communication, and I also think it's symmetry. Right, there's a lack of symmetry. So communication, obviously, these guys aren't communicating on simple coverages, right? We've heard a lot about them wanting to pull back on defense, and you and I both know they're running the most basic defenses possible back here in the secondary. Cover 4, cover 1, cover 3. This is stuff that you learn in Pop Warner, right? So if the communication is an issue, then it comes down to just symmetry, right? How much time are these guys really spending with each other, right? Are they really clicking? Are they able to communicate that way without just nonverbal communication? All the things that you gain from just being with each other. But it's to the point now where teams are literally scheming against them because they're expecting them to fail on this communication.
Well, and one of the biggest reasons for the 1-2 start is due to 77 points allowed over the last 2 weeks. That's the most of any 2-week span in Dallas Cowboys franchise history. But whenever you look at safety specifically, of course there's injuries in the cornerbacks, and you see no Anthony Brown, you don't have Chido Awuzie, but whenever it comes to safety, are Darian Thompson and Xavier Woods really the answer for this Cowboys defense?
Look, I'm going to be honest, and I'm just going to say no. Right now, from what we've seen from these safety players, it's just subpar play from these first couple weeks out there in the secondary. I mean, look, whether it's single high or it's double high safeties, I mean, these guys are supposed to be the end of the line. They're supposed to be the end stop no matter what happens. If it's a long run or if it's a busted coverage, these guys are supposed to get the football on the ground and help this defense live to fight another day. And we just haven't seen that so far. Now, look, Isaiah, you played offense. You know, if an offense sees or senses a weakness in the defense, they're going to continue to attack it and to continue to expose it each and every week until this defense fixes that problem. I see this secondary having a very long season.
Are you saying that the offenses are trying to exploit this secondary?
I think so.
Trying to say no, Barry's absolutely correct. I mean, these guys are not doing what they're asked to do. They're not doing what they're called to do. They're not doing what they're paid to do. Do I think that they have the talent? Yes, these guys are talented enough. They're professional enough to do what's being asked of them, but they're just not delivering, right? So the communication has to improve, right? These guys need to become brothers, right? They need to get around each other a lot more so that they can figure out what is going on this back end, because it's not the fact that it's too difficult for them. They just have to figure this thing out and convert.
And one thing that could help them out is a little bit more added pass rush up front from the front seven of this Dallas Cowboys team. We saw a little bit of added pressure on Russell Wilson last week, 4 sacks against Russell, but you take a look at some of the numbers so far. DeMarcus Lawrence, Everson Griffin, 2 players who have been all-pro caliber throughout their career, really haven't gotten off to the great start. But then you have Aldon Smith, who comes in and has 4 sacks, leads the NFL in that category. And what is really going on with this pass rush, and where could you see some improvement?
Look, it could be a multitude of things going on with this pass rush. It could be, a lack of an off season. It could be, abbreviated camp or input of a new defense. But to me, those are just all excuses. And I don't think this D-line deals with excuses. So for me, they need to take a page out of Aldon Smith's book. I mean, he seems to be the only one that has this thing figured out right now. So to me, take a page out of his book, turn it up a notch. Because look, if we continue to have this lackluster pass rush or this non-ability to affect the quarterback, I mean, it's going to be a heck of a long season, and I don't think Cowboys fans or this Cowboys team wants any part of that.
I like when you say it with your chest there, man. That's what we're talking about. Listen up. I can't tell you exactly what's wrong with these guys, but to your point, they are professionals, right? Aldon Smith has figured it out after sitting on the couch and eating Tostitos for the last 5 years, right? So, I mean, these guys, his numbers, you saw that there, that stat, his numbers are better than theirs combined, and that's a problem. Right, when you have one guy that's being more dominant than your whole line collectively. These guys are highly talented talents, and they have to figure out a way to become effective. They need to dig down deep and figure out, hey, what am I missing right now? I'm being challenged. Let's go.
He has 4 of the 7 total sacks from this Dallas defense. And DeMarcus Lawrence has been dealing with a couple injuries, a little bit of an ailment there, but so is Tyron Smith. When we come back here on Dallas Cowboys pregame live, is Tyron Smith going to be back at left tackle? We'll talk about it right after the break.
Mike Nolan said that he felt like some of y'all's pre-snap was a little bit better in Seattle than it had been the first 2 weeks, but the communication during the play wasn't always where it needs to be. How would you assess where your defense is at, and what steps have you taken, and where do you need to take them?
I think in defense, especially, communication is everything. When you talk about being there for your brother, we got to help each other out. Just because you do your job, there's more that you can do to help the man that's next to you. So I think that's a little bit of what Coach is alluding to. Everybody just being locked in together and making sure we communicating the right stuff, the right things.
What's the challenge of the Browns' rushing attack, especially with 2 dynamic backs in that field?
Physical, dominant. Hard-nosed. They don't care who they're playing. They're going to run the ball, and that's their mentality. So going into this game, we know what we're up against, and we're looking forward to grinding.
Stylistically, do they change from one back to the other, or they kind of attack the same way with both guys?
I mean, they both are elite backs. They have different characteristics about themselves, but a lot of similarities. And at the end of the day, you got to be ready. You got to be ready when they're running through that hole, and that's what it's going to take. It's going to take some great team defense to stop these guys.
We're just getting started here on Cowboys pregame live as the Cleveland Browns come to AT&T Stadium, week 4 of the NFL season. And whenever you look at this Cleveland Browns team, you're going up against a stout defensive line, Myles Garrett on the other side, an Arlington native. But how are you going to combat that? We're going to look at the inactive list, and a big plus for the inactive list this week, no Tyron Smith on that inactive list. Here's what you've got to work with. Ben DiNucci, of course, he's been out. He's the 3rd quarterback. You're used to seeing that name up there, and hopefully he stays there for a good amount of time. That means Andy Dalton and Dak Prescott are staying healthy. Neville Gallimore for the 2nd straight week. He is on the inactive list. Alex Light, one of the added tackles, he's on the inactive list. Big reason why Tyron Smith is available and ready to play.
I mean, this is huge. This is huge for this offensive line. I mean, look, we've been working with a patchwork offensive line so far this year. Barring any, setbacks or any injuries that happen on the field, hopefully Tyron Smith can get back in there and play at a high level. I mean, we need this guy. We need this Band-Aid on this offensive line. Those edges have been under attack so far this season, and we got a guy on the other side, Myles Garrett, who we'll talk about a little bit later, but I mean, he's a dangerous man out there. So with this guy being out there, especially solidifying that left side, protecting Dak Prescott's blind spot, should be a huge upgrade for this offensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. And if for nothing else, it gives us this line confidence, right? It gives this line some experience. It gives them leadership. And you mentioned the backside and the dude that may be trying to come across the line today, Myles Garrett. Now he has to change his approach. Right, he doesn't feel as if he's as confident going against Smith as he would have been against anybody else. So, it's a plus for this team, and hopefully it pans out for him.
You add him back into the fray, and this is a Cowboys offensive line that's only allowed a 4% sack percentage throughout the first 3 weeks of the season, which is actually good enough for a top 10 number in the NFL, which is pretty nice, even with some of the fill-ins. But is this going to give so much more flexibility in terms of what you can do with Terrence Steele and Brandon Knight on the edge?
Sure, it gives a lot of flexibility, and it also gives you depth, because if something happens to where, Tyron Smith, God forbid that something happens to him on that edge, you can put Brandon Knight in there. If something happens to Terrence Steele, you can put him on that side. But here's a guy in Terrence Steele at the right tackle position. I mean, he's only making his, fourth career NFL start after being an undrafted rookie free agent. So I think his confidence will grow, and I think his play will grow as the season progresses. So these holes along the offensive line, I think as the season goes, will continue to get patched up and continue to work better. But a huge Band-Aid coming back with Tyron Smith.
Absolutely. I don't think that we've necessarily had any woes, right? I mean, we've had some depth issues. We haven't had the line that the Cowboys Nation has been, used to over the past years. What happens is we have a case of being spoiled, right? There's a case in Cowboys Nation of being spoiled, having, 3 out of your 5 linemen always being all pros and all that stuff. And having Smith come back is huge. But this offensive line has actually been pretty successful throughout the season. You mentioned their sack rating. They've been great in pass blocking, but the issue is they have not been dominant, and they haven't been these bullies that we're used to seeing as them in the running game.
Yeah, you got to open up those holes for Ezekiel Elliott. We'll talk about him potentially getting back on track later in the show, but we just alluded to Myles Garrett and this defensive line for Cleveland. This is one of the better defensive lines, if not the best one, the Cowboys have seen and might see throughout the course of the season. How dangerous is the former Arlington native and what he brings to the table?
I'm telling you, this guy right here off the edge, you guys remember Takk McKinley a couple weeks ago before he got injured, how much damage he was doing out there. I mean, imagine that, but 15 times worse. I mean, this guy is a demon off the edge. He is a monster off the edge, and he's second in the league right now in sacks. And when he arrives at the quarterback, he's not just looking to wrap him up. He's not looking just to bring him down and celebrate with his teammates. He's looking to detach the football away from the quarterback. So for me, have a plan with this guy, whether he be on the right side or be on the left side. Have a plan for him, because I promise you, Isaiah, Dak does not want to meet this guy in the backfield.
No, his dude is a pit bull. Everybody knows that pit bulls are nasty when they want to be. What you can't do, what you can't allow for him to do is pin his ears back. Yes. And the best way that you can neutralize that is by simply keeping yourself in good down and distance, right? Don't allow yourselves to end up in 3rd and longs, because that's when they go wide nines, and that's when he comes off the edge and he gets nasty.
It's going to present a challenge, no doubt about it. 33.5 sacks in 40 games for Myles Garrett. He's 3rd on the active list in that, along with Von Miller and Aldon Smith. We've got another homecoming for the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield returns to AT&T Stadium. We'll talk about it next.
Obviously we've had some injuries early in the season, but again, we've had guys step up, prepare the right way, and have been ready when their number's called. Brandon Knight has done a great job. Terrence Steele has done a good job. He's continuing to learn and get better. And then, like I said, Tyler, he saw his first kind of real game action this week and did a nice job. So, as an offensive line unit, it takes a lot of communication, and it takes everyone to be successful. And I think we're just continuing to work with whoever's out there.
Zach, what's the challenge of playing a guy like Myles Garrett, and why is he such a threat in the defense?
Yeah, he's definitely a guy you circle on the game plan when you look at it. Obviously, he's big, physical, has all the traits of an elite defensive end. We've got to be on our A game when he lines up across from you. And but yeah, definitely a guy that you circle when you initially look at the lineup.
Welcome back into Cowboys pregame live as we lead you into kickoff between the Dallas Cowboys and the Cleveland Browns. Kyle Yeomans, Isaiah Stanback, and Barry Church, pair of former Dallas Cowboys on set. As we take a couple looks inside AT&T Stadium, there you see CeeDee Lamb off to a fantastic start in his rookie season. There's Noah Brown in the 85 and a bunch of those receivers, weapons for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll get to those coming up here in just a little bit. But on the other side, you've got some weapons to cover if you're the Cowboys defense against this Cleveland offense. The numbers haven't been just really off the charts in terms of the Browns offense, in terms of the passing game. However, Baker Mayfield returning to AT&T Stadium for his first game as a pro. And Isaiah, when you look at what he's been able to bring to the table in terms of really just kind of improving at the quarterback position at the pro level, how would you slow him down, especially with the weapons he has?
Well, Baker's not being asked to be what he was in college, right? He's not being asked to be what he was in his first couple years in the league. He has now been given the ability to simply be a game manager. Right? He just simply doesn't have to lose the game now, right? Sit back there, make smart decisions, keep that down and distance in manageable position, move the chains, hand the ball off to those two dogs behind you. That's what's being asked of him. So in order to slow this down, you have to add pressure, right? You have to keep these guys in long distances because he still is susceptible to throwing the ball up there and leaving it up for interceptions.
Yeah, you're completely right. And to order to slow this guy down and slow this passing offense down, I think you got to focus on their run game. Yep. I mean, Stefan Wisniewski, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, I mean, he's a ground and pound, control the clock type offense. And if you can control the clock and make Baker Mayfield go ahead and throw the ball 45, 55 times, then I think that works in your favor. So to me, it all relies on his run game. Hopefully, they're able to stomp that out and force Baker to have to throw the ball to Odell and those boys.
And of course, Baker Mayfield, very familiar with AT&T Stadium. He won a state championship in high school there, coming from Lake Travis High School. Won a couple games there, to say the least, with the Oklahoma Sooners as well in terms of Big 12 games played at Jerry World. But this is the only Browns team, like you mentioned, with running backs that also have to really play a big part in trying to slow down this offense. The only team in the NFL with two 1,100-yard rushers a year ago, or 1,100-yard passers or receivers a year ago, and a 1,600-yard rusher. But whenever it comes to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, guys, Barry, it's a tough task to slow either one of those guys down. How do you do it?
It's tough. I mean, look, you got a two-headed monster back there, and arguably the best two-headed monster in the league right now. This is a downhill running football team that loves to run the ball in between the tackles. So for me, the big boys up front, Antoine Wood, Dontari Poe, Tristan Hill, they're going to have to show up big in this game. They're going to have to build a wall in there. And I'm not saying they're going to have to make every single tackle, but I feel like they're going to have to be gap disciplined. They're going to have to build a wall in there, make those boys run sideline to sideline, and keep those offensive linemen off of Jalen Smith and Joe Thomas and them boys, and let them do what they do best, run sideline to sideline and make tackles. Because I promise you, if this running game gets downhill, it's going to be a long afternoon for this Cowboys defense.
Yeah, you just can't give this offensive line confidence, right? This, like you mentioned, an interior defensive lineman, Griffin, all you guys, we got to show up, fellas, because if this offensive line gets any form of confidence, you're going to get busted in your mouth the entire game because there's fresh legs coming in every single down, whether it's in the form of Chubbs or in the form of Hunt. These boys is going to be ready and willing, and, you know, even if they only get 20 touches each, that's 40 rushes a game, and guess what? They're still fresh.
Nick Chubb, back-to-back games with 100-plus rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. He's the first Cleveland Brown to do that since 1967. So he presents a huge factor. But also, you look on the outside, you've got Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. This is a 1-2 punch that the Cowboys have seen a couple times already this year. You saw it with Julio Jones. You saw it with Calvin Ridley in Atlanta. But what makes these guys different? And you even can add Austin Hooper into the fray.
I mean, these guys are not being asked, like I mentioned with Baker, they're not demanding that he throw the ball downfield, right? And they're really just becoming possession receivers. It's kind of crazy to ever think that you would say Odell Beckham and Landry are possession receivers, but that's what's being asked of them, right? They say, hey, be there when we need you. Third downs, right? You know, mix it up, play action, and guess what? Don't be fooled. Don't be lulled to sleep because these dudes will still run by you.
Yeah, you can't be lulled to sleep at all. I mean, we know this is a run-first oriented team, but they do have the ability to go ahead and stretch the field and dice you apart with these passing attacks. So for me, they have to slow down this run, but they can't allow the Cleveland Browns to pick your poison. Let's hit them with this run or let's hit them with this pass. We cannot let them do that. If they do that, like I said earlier, it's going to be a long afternoon.
It's going to be a long afternoon, and it'll be a tough task for that Cowboys secondary to turn things around and slow down both the passing game and the rushing game for the Cleveland Browns. Jarvis Landry, by the way, his 100th career game today, as he's had a fantastic career already. When we come back, the Cowboys, they've have some weapons of their own. We talk about the impact Michael Gallup has had early in this 2020 season.
It's pretty smooth. I can't make complaints at all. I mean, I'm more of a cerebral type of player, so learning all the spots in the secondary is something that I'm used to. It's something I did in at past teams that I was at. So I mean, it's easy to be able to make that transition and be able to do the things to help the team.
When you look at some of the big plays given up last week, it's obviously a quarterback on the top of his game. But what did you see overall as a group? Was there a common denominator? Was it picking up the wrong reads? Was it communication? How would you break it down as far as what happened?
As far as last week, I mean, Russell Wilson, he's a great player. I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, and he's done a lot of great things in his league. But we felt, though, going back watching the tape, the scheme type of things that really beat us, just things within our own scheme that we need to pick up on, make the right corrections, and going forward, we won't be able to make the same mistakes.
It's been an impressive start to the 2020 season for the Dallas Cowboys wide receivers, as already 4 of them have hit the 100-yard receiving mark in a single game. However, Michael Gallup has made a couple key plays already, and Danny Sarek has more.
The Cowboys wide receiver core, also dubbed the three-headed monster, gained a lot of attention this offseason. Number 1 receiver Amari Cooper signed a 5-year, $100 million extension, and the Cowboys drafted CeeDee Lamb with the 17th overall pick in this year's draft. The third part of that trio who didn't garner as much attention is third-year veteran Michael Gallup, who now has back-to-back big-time plays, which have led to points on the board for Dallas. Against Atlanta, Gallup had a 38-yard catch in the fourth, which led to a rushing touchdown by quarterback Dak Prescott. And last week against Seattle, Gallup had a 43-yard touchdown. Gallup says if Prescott continues to find him in those clutch moments down the stretch, he'll be ready.
It's kind of seeming like that's the big play we need at the time. So, I mean, just a straight 9 ball, nothing to it. Dak knew that he was coming to me before the play, so I got to make him right.
And he's a guy that wants the ball. He's a big play guy. He's going to make plays, whether it's clutch situations or whether it's early in the game. He's always wanting it. So any chance I can get those one-on-ones, I mean, I'm going to go to him. We've shown it these first 3 weeks, and we'll continue to do it if you're giving us the opportunity. So, I mean, he's a hell of a player.
Gallup has improved every season, topping 1,000 yards in 2019. Through 3 games this year, he's put up 246 yards, averaging more than 22 yards per reception. Head coach Mike McCarthy says he doesn't see Gallup as a number 2 behind Cooper. He sees Gallup as another number 1 receiver. Having Gallup, Cooper, and Lamb as the top 3 wideouts puts this team in a powerful position. Even when those 3 get targeted by the defense, Dallas is now utilizing receivers like Cedric Wilson, who finished with 2 touchdowns and more than 100 yards last week, who can step up to the plate.
Obviously, you're going to need a breather at some point. So, you know, when those guys come in there, you know, they're not losing a step when they walk in there with Dak. So that's why, you know, throughout practice and everything, we're always rotating, making sure everybody's getting plays.
That rotation between the wide receivers comes from head coach Mike McCarthy's ball distribution philosophy. McCarthy says he wants to get everybody involved. That way, when they acknowledge who their opponent's defense wants to match up against, they can throw them off. That ball distribution has been successful for the Cowboys so far, who now have 4 wide receivers who have topped 100 yards in a game: Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, and Cedric Wilson. McCarthy says that ball distribution tells their opponents, hey, if you want to stop our 3-headed monster, well, we've got different weapons that we can still attack you with through the air. Kyle?
Thank you very much, Danny. And it really is an embarrassment of riches whenever it comes to the wide receiver position in the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, these receivers are doing an awesome job. I mean, these guys are doing three things, right? These guys they're catching the ball and versus man-to-man coverage. They're beating man-to-man. They're catching the ball. They're finding these zones, right? And then they're getting yak yards, right? Those are the three things. Catching the ball, finding man-to-man, and then these guys are catching the ball and making big plays. They're taking off, man. They're showing their speed. So, man, as long as they keep doing this, the Cowboys are going to be in good situations.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch, especially whenever you're going up against a little bit of a banged-up Cleveland secondary. You may see some big numbers from those receivers. When we come back, we'll wrap things up on the television side of things. Cleveland, Dallas, Week 4 of the NFL season.
Do you feel this is the most explosive offense you've had since you've been in Dallas, and it's just a matter of holding on to the ball and not turning it over, and this thing's going to go your way pretty soon?
I think so. We have a lot of weapons, at every position, and a lot of guys that can do a lot with the ball. That's really exciting. We just got to handle our part, take care of the ball, and good things will happen.
Vic, what do you see from Myles Garrett on film? And given that you help out in pass protection so much, what's the key to blocking him?
He's very good. I mean, he's a very good player. So I mean, it's gonna be tough. It's not gonna be an easy task. I don't really have much. I don't have any one-on-one with him, but I say the key to blocking him is just knowing where he's at all the time. And for me as a running back, that would just be. If I'm releasing out to a route on his side, maybe giving him a chip, giving the tackle a little extra help on my way out, and I mean, that's all I really could do.
1 and 2, you've left some points on the board. You mentioned the turnovers. I didn't know if those things were a point of frustration.
I don't think we're frustrated. It's early in the season. We have a lot of football left. I don't think there's any reason to panic. I think we just gotta, keep getting better week in, week out. It's important this week. We gotta go get back on track.
The Dallas Cowboys pregame show, live from the Star in Frisco, was brought to you by AT&T. SWBC Mortgage, financial solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit swbc.com. And by the Dallas Cowboys Football Club. Want to tour AT&T Stadium? For more information, call 817-892-TOUR or visit dallascowboys.com/tours.
It's been 26 years since the Cleveland Browns have defeated the Dallas Cowboys. 1994 was the last time. They'll try not to let that happen today at AT&T Stadium. That'll do it on the TV side. Join us on the internet side. For Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Enjoy the game. As we take a look behind us at some of the scenes, it's a stressful time to be a Cowboys fan because you are 1-2 going up against a 2-1 Cleveland team. You really need to have a victory today. But talking about the one of the big keys for the Cowboys is that secondary, and it's Trayvon Diggs. It really starts with what he has to bring to the table, and we'll talk about Trayvon Diggs. But first, let's go to AT&T Stadium and talk to Nick Eatman for the first time.
Thank you, guys. And yes, here again at AT&T Stadium, and the roof closed, doors open, get that air flowing in here and see if the Cowboys can get off to a quicker start than they did last time against Atlanta. Of course, the end result was fine. They got the win, of course, but the Cowboys certainly know that they need to play a lot better in the first half and not try to come back from these tough deficits, 15 points the last two games. And I think the way they want to play would be much better if the Cowboys can get off to a fast start. I think everybody knows that. Now, one thing to note, Tyron Smith, of course, you guys have already addressed. He will be starting at the left side. Terrence Steele looks like he will be getting the start, the rookie, back on that right side. They really love his athleticism. And I would imagine Myles Garrett, if he gets to pick which side he wants to go up against, he's probably going to go opposite of Tyron Smith most of the time. So big matchup for that right tackle. Looks like it's going to be Terrence Steele. Now, games like this, first month of the season, Dak Prescott has been really good here in the first month of the season at home. He's 7-2 in his career, and better than that, 15-2 touchdown to interception ratio. So he really does play well early in the season. Of course, they need to get this win. Before when Tony Romo was the starter, the previous 12 games, first month of the season, Cowboys were 6-6. So Dak has something figured out here playing at home early in the season. Let's see if he can continue that trend today against the Browns. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Nick. And, of course, there's a lot of key pieces to this machine for the Dallas Cowboys. You need Tyron Smith back. You got that. But really the secondary has to step up and has to go up against really a stout offense.
Yeah, they have an opportunity to show what they got out there. I mean, this offense going into this game, they have dynamic receivers out there in Odell and Jarvis Landry. But like I said at the beginning, the focus for me is this run game.
Stop the run, you limit the pass. It's really simple. And these boys need to show up front. This front seven has to show up and stop these guys, pop them in their mouth, and leave these guys open to forcing Baker Mayfield to be an accurate passer, which we know he's not historically, right? Yeah. He's throwing about, I think, 62% right now, and he's not having to throw. He only has like 85 attempts, right? So force him to throw the ball downfield. He's going to always give you an opportunity to get an interception, turn the ball around, and then go down there and manage the field of play.
While the entire mindset of the defense may be slowing down the run to help your passing defense, Trayvon Diggs is just straight focused on stopping the pass. He's had to do that against some of the best wideouts in the NFL so far. Here's Rob Phillips on more on the Rookie Corner.
To say that Trayvon Diggs is learning on the fly is probably an understatement. For a rookie cornerback, there might not be a tougher draw than Diggs' opening 3-game stretch against top NFL receivers. Atlanta's Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. Seattle's Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. The Rams wideouts who really challenge defenses stylistically. With so many injuries at cornerback, Diggs, the Cowboys' second-round pick with 3 career starts, has been the one constant at the position. That's a lot to shoulder. Jared Goff, Matt Ryan, and Russell Wilson are Super Bowl quarterbacks who have thrown Diggs' way quite a bit. But his confidence has not wavered. Diggs' best and most encouraging play against Seattle wasn't the poke out on DK Metcalf, forcing a touchback and preventing a touchdown. It was how Diggs responded against Metcalf later in the game. With 10 minutes remaining, Seattle dialed up another vertical route to Metcalf down the right sideline. This time, Diggs stayed with Metcalf stride for stride, won the jump ball, and nearly picked it off, forcing a punt. More than size and instincts and range, a short memory can separate a great cornerback from a good one. Losing on routes is inevitable. How you respond is critical. Diggs continues to battle. The next challenge, Sunday against Browns receivers Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. Another chapter in Trayvon Diggs' development. For DallasCowboys.com, I'm Rob Phillips.
Things really don't get much easier for Trayvon Diggs in his 4th professional game. But, Barry, when you look at the challenge that awaits for the rookie, what are some of the things that are encouraging from what he's done through the first 4 weeks of the season?
I mean, look, this young kid, he's been thrown into the fire out here. He's basically been tossed, like Rob said, against some of the NFL's best talent. You're going against Woods, Cooper Kupp, Ridley, Jones, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. I mean, name me one veteran cornerback that's not going to struggle against that lineup. So for me, I like his intangibles. I like what he has out there. I like the fight that he's shown each and every week. Yes, he's been beaten out there, but he's also made his fair share of plays. So for me, I think he's adapted well to being thrown into the fire, and I think the future's bright for this young star at the cornerback position.
Yeah, and in this league, obviously as a rookie cornerback, you adapt or die. I talk about that, and he's been resuscitated a few times, I think, by this point in the season. And, like to your point, Barry, he has done a good job. But he's also had luck on his side a lot this year as well. There's been a lot of times where the ball has just simply fell through the hands of Julio Jones, or DK Metcalf just relaxed right on a go route. So he's had luck on his side, but he has to continue to limit these opportunities of guys getting past him. Don't let people be on you, because that's when big plays happen. He's been lucky so far. We need luck to turn into skills.
And the Cowboys have also gotten a little bit lucky on special teams a couple times this year as we transition into really talking about some of the blunders that the Cowboys have had on that unit, that area of the game, because things haven't necessarily gone to plan so far.
Yeah, they haven't gone to plan at all so far. I mean, you brought in one of the best special teams coaches in Fossil, and he's gone around the league as probably one of the best special teams coaches around. And this unit so far, especially kickoff return, to me has struggled. I mean, in the Atlanta game, you see Pollard taking 2 kickoffs back from when he's 7 yards deep in the end zone. He's getting tackled on the 10-yard line, which causes their offense to be in a hole from the jump. And then last week in Seattle, I mean, he blumbles the ball and then kind of ends up falling on it on the 1-yard line and ends up turning into a safety. So for me, I don't know if it's the disconnect between the coach and the players, or if it's just the players' understanding of the playbook, but something has to click and something has to happen, because this unit right now is looking worse than the unit did last year, and we all know how bad that was.
The issue with this special teams unit is not Fossil. I can tell you that right now.
Fix it, Isaiah.
Yeah, I'm fixing Felix for you right now, okay? Fossil is exactly what you want from a special teams coordinator. He's aggressive, right? And he has confidence in his players, right? What's happening right now is you have an aggressive coach and you have a lack of execution. Right? You think about some of the plays that he's called, right? Some of the things, he's done some really good things, right? The onside kick. Nobody's talking about that, right? He had the punt, the fake punt where he threw it to the guy, he just dropped it, or a bad pass. He's been very aggressive. There's been a lack of execution, and the responsibility needs to be placed on the players to uphold their confidence in this coach, because he believes in you. Now you just got to go make him look good.
Yeah, the confidence has kind of wavered for the players. Hopefully that's not the case from the coach, John Fossil, as we hear what he has to say on these special teams blunders.
And you just started by talking about the missed extra point and then the blocked extra point. What happened on those 2 plays?
Yeah, on the missed extra point, he just pushed it a little bit right. And then on the one that we got blocked, we were a little bit late off the ball at left wing and didn't get 2 hands on him. Simple as that. I wish I had a better explanation, but that's exactly what happened.
And then coming back off of that, you had the kickoff that's down inside the 1-yard line. Just what happened on that play and working, where is Pollard right now in the return game, what you want on those kickoff returns for you?
Yeah, on the one, he dropped it. I don't have a lot more information than that. It was a good kick for us to return, and I think he just got big eyes looking downfield where the hole was going to be, and he forgot the most important thing, which was the ball. I have a ton of respect and appreciation for Tony's hard work, and he dropped one. As simple as that, and don't we all at some point, huh?
Will you keep Pollard as a kickoff returner, or will you try Cedric Wilson there?
Tony Pollard, for me, 100%. 100%. I think he's a hell of a kick returner and a young guy, and just got excited, got big eyes, and, got to just remember the football. But I'm looking forward to what he's going to bring to the table the next couple months.
You really have to love that from John Fossil, sticking with his guys, staying with the game plan. Tony Pollard's our punt returner, our kick returner. He just missed one. He missed one, and we all do, and I think that's something that players will respect moving forward. But last week, kind of transitioning back into this offense a little bit, whenever it came to Ezekiel Elliott, they stuck with Zeke, but things just didn't really work out whenever it came to the running game. 14 carries, 34 yards. Guys, how does he get back on track this week?
Look, I'm not worried about Zeke right now. I mean, I feel like, he had 14 carries, 34 yards. I'm not sure we've ever seen Zeke have back-to-back games with that that low amount of carries and that low amount of yards. So, to me, I think he'll get back on track versus this Cleveland Browns defense. And I think this team needs him to. I think they need to get back to that ground and pound formula where they feed Zeke and feature Zeke and let him get up doing his natural or his signature, feed me gesture. But it also help out the defense, because if we can control this time of possession, that limits the effect that Baker Mayfield, Chubb, Hunt, and those boys can have on our defense. So for me, I feel like Ezekiel he's ready for a prime big breakout game again against Cleveland Browns, and we need him going forward.
This team has to establish the run and be stubborn in their attempt to ensue their will, right? They have to establish this run game. This team is successful when Zeke is running the rock. There's just no questions about it, right? I don't care how many passing yards, how many attempts that Dak has. You're not going to put yourself in games, positions to win games if this running game is not instilled. So Zeke, they need to keep giving it to him. I don't give a doggone how many times he gets it. I don't care what his running yards per run is. It doesn't matter. Give him the ball. Be diligent. Be stubborn, and get this doggone offensive line rolling, man. These dudes are not rolling in the run game. They're doing a great job pass blocking, but you're there to run block as well.
You just said you don't care what the stats are from Dak Prescott and what he brings to the table, but this is a pregame show and we're going to talk about it.
Let's go. Say it with your chest.
That's what we were told we were going to talk about. So let's take a look at some of the stats from Dak Prescott whenever it comes to being perfect. He has to be perfect. He's been close to that so far. 5 touchdowns, just the 2 picks. One of those kind of an iffy pick at the end of the game. You could maybe take that one off of the stat sheet. But overall, he's been fantastic, and it helps your offense when he's firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, it does help your offense when he's firing on all cylinders. Like we said, he gets to limit the turnovers a little bit. But other than that, I feel like he's been playing perfect ball so far. But as we've seen, that's just not enough to get these victories. I think we have to implement, like you said, Isaiah, we got to implement Zeke more into this game. And with that ground and pound, with that controlling the clock, I think that's our formula to win. Dak and Prescott can put up all these godly numbers, but they have to come with wins as well in order to be sufficient.
They're asking too much of Dak. Pure and simple. Dak, they're asking entirely too much of Dak. You have a dog behind you. Get the dog the ball, right? You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to the quarterback. You're still the leader of the team. You're still the game manager. But as you know, you are here as a complimentary player to Zeke. That Cowboys Nation, let's not get it mixed up, right? Dak's your quarterback. Zeke is your dog.
One of the big stats, though, is that the Cowboys are 31-2 when Dak Prescott has a 100 or higher passer rating. If he can do that again, he might be 32-2 because of the secondary of the Cleveland Browns. But let's go back out to AT&T Stadium. We've talked about Zeke, we've talked about Dak, but who is Nick Eatman's player to watch?
Thanks, guys. Back here at AT&T Stadium, and if you saw from a distance here just how far back we are at AT&T, that might be where the safeties are going to be lining up today. That's my players to watch. I usually have one player. I'm going to go with 2. We know the safety play has been shaky for the Cowboys, and where do they line up in this game is going to be the key for me, because Darian Thompson, Xavier Woods, we saw a lot of miscommunication last week and even the previous weeks of some busts in the secondary that's led to some big plays. And yes, Cleveland likes to run the football, but Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry obviously know how to get deep, and that's something the Cowboys will have to focus on. Where do they line up Thompson and Woods? Because they can play back. They can go all the way back to Six Flags if they want to, but what's going to happen is that Cleveland really wants to run the football. They want to run with Kareem Hunt and, of course, Nick Chubb. So it's going to be a chess match. Where do they line up? Do they play back? Do they prevent the big play? Or do they slide up? Or do they do a combination of both? That, to me, is the difference in this game, is how the safeties play and where they line up. Back to you guys.
Very much, Nick. And while they may not be all the way back at Six Flags, it's been a roller coaster in the secondary for the Cowboys so far this season. But, Barry, whenever it comes to keys to the game, how do the Cowboys get the win today?
Mine is simple, and it goes back to a point I harped on earlier. I think those big boys up front, Dontari Poe, Tristan Hill, and Woods, they got to build a wall up there. They got to force this Cleveland Browns running game not to go downhill. They got to force them to go sideline to sideline, keep those offensive linemen off of those linebackers, let them do what they do best, sideline to sideline, and make tackles. I think you'll have a much better chance in this game. Plus, it'll force Baker Mayfield to throw the ball, and I think we have the advantage if it comes to that.
I got 2 things for you, Barry.
Gotcha.
Stop the run, right, and then win the time of possession battle, right? We know that Cleveland wants to run the rock, right? You can't allow them to just motor themselves all the way down the field, right? And then on the other side of the ball, we have to establish the run. If we do that, we win the time of possession game, and then guess what? That's going to be a Cowboys victory.
It would be a crucial Cowboys victory in order to get back to 500, really set yourself up for success. But this is a stressful time. We're 15 minutes till kickoff. Kevin Burkhardt and then Daryl the Moose Johnson have the call on Fox. Be sure to join them. But we do have something that might take a little bit of that stress away. But before we wrap up, Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Here's Joe Looney with something you might remember for quite some time.
I don't know how much longer.
Josie's on a vacation far away. Come around and talk it over. So many things I don't wanna say. You know I like my girls a little bit older. I just wanna use your love tonight.